We look down the history of the beautiful game of NBA basketball. We look at all the great teams that have won NBA championships, the great teams that have went on to become NBA dynasties. One thing that they all had in common is that they've had some combination of a dynamic duo. We can go to 1995, look at the Houston Rockets making a mid-season trade to bring in Clyde Drexler to pair with Hakeem Olajuwon, and they go on to win an NBA championship. We look at the Chicago Bulls having Michael Jordan and Scottie Pippen. For all of those years, they win 6 NBA finals and go 6-0 while doing it. We look at Shaq and Kobe, one of the most polarizing NBA duos in NBA history. They go on to three-peat, being one of the only few franchises to ever do that in NBA history. We look at LeBron James and D Wade. So many duos throughout NBA history, so many more duos throughout NBA history that have won NBA championships. And then we get to this NBA offseason where the Houston Rockets, they're taking a big swing at a home run, going out and acquiring Kevin Durant. And when I look at Kevin Durant and I look at his characteristics and I look at his skill set and I look down this Houston Rockets roster and I look at Alperen Şengün and I'm looking at his characteristics and his skill sets, I'm looking at both of these guys and I think they're going to have the opportunity, the potential to be one of the best dynamic duos going into the 2025-2026 NBA season. And the first thing I want to do with you guys today, I think we have to look at both of these guys as individual talents because they're both uniquely special. We look at Kevin Durant. Kevin Durant is 36, going on age 37 this year, but it does not look like he's slowing down at all. I've been seeing him in the offseason, and he's cooking guys like Evan Mobley, the Defensive Player of the Year. I've also seen him cooking Chet Holmgren this offseason too, another premier defender in today's NBA. So we all know KD has an extreme passion and love for the game of basketball, but looking at his characteristics and his skill set, I think it's safe to call Kevin Durant a wing player, and he's an elite 3-level scorer with a legit handle on the basketball. He can do everything offensively. He can post up, he can ISO, he can run the two-man game, he can come off screens. He can read defenses and make the right play. No flaws on the offensive side of the ball. So you have Kevin Durant, and he's 7 feet tall with a very long wingspan. And then we look at the other side of this dynamic duo. We look at Alperen Şengün. We look at his skill set and his characteristics. Alperen Şengün, he's a rarity in today's NBA. And we all know why he's a rarity, because he religiously goes down to that low block, and he plays with his back to the basket, and he has a very legit post game. He has just about every move in the post, and it draws a lot of attention, a lot of gravity, and this is where his game gets to the next level. He's gifted enough to be able to process defenses, processes the defenses that they're throwing at him, and he's gifted enough to make timely passes to get his teammates open looks off the attention that he's creating. So we have these two guys who are, attract a lot of attention, but they're also super duper skilled and they're super duper smart. So I'm looking at these guys, and they're going to be a real offensive force next season. So that's what we're working with these two guys as individual talents. And now we're going to look at how these guys are going to be feeding off of each other. And I think it's a couple of ways that they're going to be doing that. But the number one thing I'm looking forward to for the Houston Rockets half-court offense next season, and it's something that's very simple, and that's the two-man game, the pick and roll between Kevin Durant and Alperen Şengün, them running that on that weak side, give them as much space as you possibly can and let them go to work. Because I'm looking at this, and I think they're going to create so many positive things in the half court on the offensive side of the ball. And it all starts with Kevin Durant as the ball handler and the creator in your pick and roll game. And I think with having a roll man like Alperen Şengün, these two guys are going to have a counter to everything. One of the most simple things you can run on the offensive side of the ball, but a lot of defenses can have a hard time stopping it. And I think Kevin Durant and Alperen Şengün, they're going to have a counter to just about every coverage. And we can look at a defense wanting to play their big in the drop coverage. They don't want to let Alperen Şengün get behind the defense and get towards the rim and start making passes. Now you have Kevin Durant. You have his defender getting hit by a big screen. Alperen Şengün, he's a very big, basketball player. And Kevin Durant, we know if a big is in the drop coverage, he's going to feast in the mid-range. So we know 9 times out of 10, we're not going to be seeing too many teams give that up to Kevin Durant because he's going to feast on it. So a lot of what we see a lot with a player like Kevin Durant in today's NBA, when he's so lethal, when he's so lethal at coming off that pick and roll and scoring the basketball, we see it with a lot of players in the NBA as well. They get blitzed as soon as they try to come off that screen, so the defenses get the ball out of their hands. Now, this is where a lot of people really don't know about Alperen Şengün's game. They don't know how underrated he is in this aspect, but he's one of the best short roll mans in the NBA. And what the short roll is basically when they do blitz the ball handler on the pick and roll, and that guy immediately gets the ball to the roll man. They usually catch it in the mid-range area, right around the top of the key free throw area. Alperen Şengün, he's really good in 4-on-3 situations, and that's exactly what that does when defenses blitz. They force a 4-on-3 situation, and it's very hard when a team has a roll man, or even worse, a legit center that can get the ball on the short roll, and they can do so many different things. And that's exactly what Alperen Şengün can do. He can get the ball on the short roll. He can take 1-2 dribbles. Is another thing I forgot to mention. He has a very soft touch around the rim as well. As much as a bruiser post scorer that he is, he has a very soft feathery touch as well. So he can take 1 dribble, and if the defenses don't play him, he can knock down that little floater or push shot. And this is where all these outstanding role players come into play that the Houston Rockets have around these guys. When we look at Thompson as a cutter, a nasty cutter, he's going to get so many easy buckets in this half-court offense this season being generated from Alperen Şengün and Kevin Durant. But you have a cutter in Amen Thompson that Alperen Şengün finds often. You have 2 really good spot-up shooters in Fred VanVleet and Jabari Smith Jr., and Jabari Smith Jr. also serves as a cutter as well. Him or Amen Thompson can play in that dunker spot. So we're going to see a lot of times where Alperen Şengün, he gets the ball off KD getting trapped, and he's finding Amen Thompson for a backdoor lob, or Amen Thompson might already be in the dunker spot and he's dropping it off to him or throwing it up to him for a lob or a dunk, and he's going to be kicking it out to, if they collapse the paint, he's going to be kicking it out to Fred VanVleet, maybe even back to KD or back to Jabari Smith Jr. So we're going to see these 2 guys off their 2-man game. They're going to generate so many assists from themselves, and they're going to generate so many hockey assists as well. With the way this starting 5 is formatted, I see these guys really having defenses off balance a lot. And then another way teams love to defend the 2-man game, when the guy with the ball in his hands is so polarizing. They try to switch everything to throw off the flow of the 2-man game. But when you have Alperen Şengün setting the screen, 9 times out of 10, it's going to be a bigger guy guarding him because he is a low post threat. And then 9 times out of 10, teams try to throw their best perimeter defender on Kevin Durant. So the teams are switching that. Kevin Durant, he's going to cook with a bigger player on him, and Alperen Şengün is going to cook with a smaller guy down him on the post. And all of that switching, and then you get that good of a mismatch. Like we said, the defense is continuously going to be off balance, trying to get those. They're going to try to get out of those mismatches immediately. So they're going to have guys in scramble mode a lot. So that's what I'm looking forward to. I think this 2-man game of Kevin Durant and Alperen Şengün has so much potential because both of these guys are so skilled at their position. They're very smart and they can pass the basketball. So that's what I'm looking at. That's what I'm most excited for. And then we kind of just touched on this a little bit, but also we look throughout NBA history. One thing about these teams that have found these great dynamic duos, they did an absolute fantastic job at finding the right role players to put around them, which made them a great team and which made the dynamic duos even greater. And I think the Houston Rockets, the more and more I really think about it, they have a really good starting 5 going into next season. We all know that their bench is really deep too. But we looking at this starting 5, And I love that. I think Alperen Şengün and KD, they're going to be the focal points on the offensive side of the ball, but the guys around them fit them so well. When we look at Thompson, I think Thompson is going to have a lot of fun playing basketball next season. He's going to be the head of the snake on the defensive side of the ball. I think he's going to be causing a lot of trouble. He's going to be good enough to anchor the Houston Rockets defense to where they still have a top 5 defense in the NBA next season. And then Thompson, we talked about it, how he's going to serve as that nasty cutter in this half-court offense. And he's relentless at getting downhill. And when you cut in the offense with Kevin Durant and Alperen Şengün, you're going to get rewarded a lot. Same thing with Jabari Smith Jr. He's also going to be able to anchor on the defensive side of the ball with Thompson, because we know Alperen Şengün and Kevin Durant, they have legitimate size, but defense is not their specialty. So another lone defender with Jabari Smith Jr., a guy that can rotate down when guys get beat off the dribble, protect the rim, secure rebounds, and offensively, he's stretching the floor. He serves as a cutter as well. And then also they have a floor general. And Fred VanVleet that can get them the ball in their spots and can also serve as a spot-up shooter and still a pit bull on the defensive side of the ball. So I'm loving the Houston Rockets. The combination of Alperen Şengün and Kevin Durant has an immense amount of potential, and I really do think they're going to fulfill it, because I believe in Coach Ime Udoka. It's something about him where he knows how to get the best out of most of his players. So that's what I want to talk about with you guys today. If you enjoyed, please leave a like, comment down below. Do you think Alperen Şengün and Kevin Durant will be the duo for the Houston Rockets next season, or do you think it'll be a combination of 2 other players? And then subscribe for more weekly content. We do this all the time, man, and that's curtains.